The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Rob Danager, and I'm here with Jack DeGraw, and as always, we're talking Yankees baseball. How you doing, Jack?
Good, Robert. Looking forward to some playoff baseball.
Yeah, we're getting the Cleveland Guardians. They took the 2 out of 3 out of against the Rays. Actually, they swept them 2 games, and it was their pitch that did it.
Yeah, the Rays had like 1 run in 24 innings, and they struck out like I believe like almost 30 batters in those 24 innings.
Yeah, it was exciting series for a lot of them. I mean, the Phillies beating the Cardinals, which was a surprise to me, and Padres beating the Mets, which really shocked me. Seattle beating Toronto shocked me. I mean, and those were all road teams.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I knew the Mariners were good. I thought the Jays would. Well, the Jays had an 8-1 lead in Game 2.
Yeah,
and, they just fell apart.
And the Phillies. I mean, wow. I mean, Bryce Harper. The one thing he's been able to do in his career in the postseason is step up and hit home runs. And even though he's playing with the sore thumb, he hit a shot in that second game.
Well, they had that big comeback. I mean, the Cardinals were ahead 3-0 going in the 9th inning. And, the Cardinals are at home, and the Phillies wound up getting 6 runs. And the Phillies, as I believe, they just snuck in the playoffs. They almost fell out of contention the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, and, the Mariners, they had a lot of momentum going into the postseason, and they had the longest playoff drought, I think, at 21 years. And even though Toronto with that lineup, and they have some good pitchers in their rotation, and Seattle took them. I was surprised. Well,
I mean, Seattle's going to be tough. I mean, the Astros are going to have their hands full, and the Yankees will have their hands full with Cleveland. Yeah, and the Yankees they don't have to announce their roster until tomorrow. But what we do know so far is that Chapman is being left off the roster. Evidently, he skipped the mandatory workout, which they're fining him for, and I think it also contributed to him now being left off the roster. Well, they want him to take a bullpen. And he said, if I'm not going to be on the playoff, if I'm not guaranteed a roster spot, I'm not going to show up for the workout. So he's off the team. He had a nice career with the Yankees, but it's time to move on. Yeah. I think you're right. I think we've seen the end of the Chapman era, and I know they're also leaving Zach Britton off. I don't know if that's a big deal to some people, but to me, it's not. I mean, if he was healthy 100%, I would say, I'd like to see him on it, but I don't think he's, himself at 100% right now. No, I think, he rushed back just to get into some games, the last week and a half in the season, just see if he had anything that, he could bring to the table. And he wasn't ready yet. I mean, Britton's an outstanding pitcher, but you could tell he couldn't find the plate. He was walking a lot of guys. He was wild. Yeah, and Aaron Boone says, that he has a lot of guys he could use for the closer role, and he will use them depending on matchups, which pitcher is best to use at that time. But he also said that not only is Herman and Jameson Taillon going to be used out of the bullpen, he said Taillon could be used for long relief and as a closer down the road in the postseason. But you never know. You might, if we're in a close game this series, you might see Taillon coming out and closing games for him, because Boone said he expects his role's going to evolve from being a reliever to a closer in the postseason. So that should be something to keep an eye on too. Yeah, I don't know how much he relieved when he was with Pittsburgh. I think Herman could be a good closer, good reliever. Yeah, so do I. Yeah, he's got good stuff.
And yeah, I'd like him over Taillon too, but I guess they have a lot of faith in Jameson, or at least Boone does.
Now, I don't know if Clay Holmes is 100% or Peralta's ready. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We'll find out more tomorrow.
Yeah, and another surprise was Carpenter is expected to be on the Division Series roster. And, I was hearing leading up to the postseason that if he was going to be ready, it wouldn't be until the championship series. But evidently they're saying here on Yes Right Now that Carpenter is expected to be on the American League Division Series roster. And I think, like we were talking off air, it might be more in a pinch hitting role, right?
Yeah, that's what they were talking about. I mean, I'm sure, he's been hitting against live pitching and, they've been playing some simulated games and stuff. But, as we were talking off air, they've got so many open days. Who knows? He could be starting in the third game or something. So, that's a possibility too.
Because also Boone said about Stanton that he wants him to play in the outfield at some point, not right away in the postseason. He says he doesn't want him playing left field. I think it was left field at Yankee Stadium. Definitely not in the outfield at Yankee Stadium, but he said at some point he does want to get Stanton in the outfield, just not right away.
Yeah, I think it'll all play out. If they're ahead 2-0 or 1-1 or that's going to be a factor.
Yeah, and as far as the pitching matchups, the Yankees are going with Gerrit Cole obviously for Game 1, but it's going to be Nestor Cortes in Game 2, followed by Severino in Game 3.
Yeah, that was interesting. I read something like Cole was saying Cortes is. Had a better season. Yeah,
he really did.
But you don't pay a guy all that money just to to be a number 2 guy. So we'll see how it pans out. I mean, Cole pitched some good games this year, but if it's done on merit, I think Cortes should be the Game 1 starter.
Yeah, and Cole will face Cal Cantrell in Game 1. Cantrell for Cleveland went 15-5 with an ERA of 3.38, and Cortes will pitch against their ace Shane Bieber, and Severino is going to be pitching against Tristan. I forget his last name, Tristan something, but he had a good year. He was 11-11, but he had an ERA of 2.98, so it was below 3. So, I mean, the Dodgers have some decent pitching, but, like you said, Cortes had a great season. Severino, is always up for the moment. I think I'd just like to see Cole come out, pitch to his contract, and set the tone right away for him.
Yeah, hopefully he can step it up. I mean, against the Red Sox last year, and, it wasn't – he really laid an egg. But, one of the interesting things, Robert, I mean – they play Game 1 and they have an off day. Yeah. And they play Game 2 and they have another off day.
Yeah. I mean, Severino doesn't start – his game is until Saturday, and it starts Tuesday. So, I mean, at least the pitchers will get rest. I mean, you can go with Cole Game 4, so you only really need the 3 pitchers, You don't really need to have that 4th starter if that's the way they're going to do it.
Well, a couple things. When you win your division, you don't have to play the wild card, obviously. But another thing is you should be rewarded because you can set your rotation and everything. Yeah. And with these off days, I mean, what advantage do you really gain?
Yeah, because in the wild card series, teams got to go with the number 1 and number 2. But then giving them these off days in the division series, it allows their ace to get rest so they can go in Game 2. And so you kind of, even though you kind of have an advantage in Game 1, it evens out in Game 2. So, it shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't have that many off days in the first series, especially in the division series.
No, because then, you even if your number one pitcher goes game 2, or he starts the first game, he'll be ready for game 5. He'll have at least 3 days off, and he could probably throw 5 or 6 innings in game 5.
Oh yeah. That Cleveland's game 3 pitcher is a righty, Tristan McKenzie. That's his name, Tristan McKenzie.
Okay.
And also LeMahieu, he's on the roster, but as of right now, Boone is uncommittal to playing him. He basically said in a quote that in Boone's opinion, he's compromised. And let me see if I can find. Yeah, Boone said, I feel like he was still compromised. I mean, that's what I was seeing. Boone said at a workout ahead of the ALDS against Cleveland. He says, you kind of want to see how he does today, which he was having a workout today, and what he's able to do in order for me to make that determination. So it'll be interesting to see if LeMahieu is in the starting lineup, or if Boone decides to keep him on the bench and use him as a pinch hitter, at least until he needs him.
Well, the thing is, I mean, LeMahieu had the 16 at bats and he had 4 hits. I mean, he worked the count, but the thing was, it looked like he couldn't drive the ball. And when he got hurt originally, he was hitting 290. And then there was a stretch for 20-some games, he didn't have any extra base hit. And his average dropped by 30 points. So, I mean, he's too good of a hitter to not at least, get some doubles and triples and home runs and stuff. It looks like he's just not, the same hitter. He's more of a, he's a slap hitter now.
Yeah, he did go 3 for 8 in the final series, but like you said, it's more of a slap hitter. He's just punching the ball or he's able to. Yeah.
I mean, that could play a big part. You late in the game, he could come in and get a hit and drive the run from second. But I mean, you don't know if he can play the field. Yeah. And going back to Stanton, I found what Boone said because of his left Achilles tendonitis. Boone said, I wouldn't expect him to play in these first couple of games. Boone said, I would have a hard time putting Stanton in left field at Yankee Stadium, especially right away. So I think at some point you will see him in the outfield, but apparently not right away. And it also says the Yankees are leaning towards using 12 pitchers and 14 position players, but it won't be finalized until tomorrow. Well, I mean, are they going to leave off Cabrera? I was wondering that because I think they could really use him in this series. I think you saw how he was getting better as the year went on. I mean, he was hitting better. He had some pop on the bat, and you could play him at any position, and he's going to make plays for you defensively. I think he's a guy I hope they use and hope on the roster. I mean, I think right now, if it comes down between him and LeMahieu, I'd go with Cabrera. Yeah, I did see an article where they said they are also thinking about Marwin Gonzalez, too. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, okay, you could keep LeMahieu on and maybe, Gonzalez, because Cabrera can play all over, too. Yeah, oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I was trying to find where I saw that about Marwin Gonzalez because they said he was a guy that was in consideration. But the only thing about Gonzalez is he struggled at the plate this year. Yeah, and I know Cabrera, like the last couple weeks of the season, he was working out at first base. Yeah. I can't find that article I was just reading a little while ago about the possibility of Marwin Gonzalez, but we'll know more tomorrow when they release the roster. One of my fears though too, we were talking off air, is if they bat Judge leadoff followed by Rizzo, Stanton, and Donaldson fourth, because teams could then pitch around Judge
go after Rizzo, maybe pitch around Stanton, and then go after Donaldson. And depending on who you have batting fifth, they could, it's just something that worries me. I'd rather see someone like Torres batting fourth over a guy like Donaldson, because you want either Judge or Stanton to be able to have pitches to swing at and to cause damage.
Well, I mean, late in the season, Torres was using the whole field, and when he's successful, that's what he does. And I mean, Donaldson offensively, I mean, he had some moments this season, but he's really declined quite a bit. Offensively, he's more of a guess hitter now. I mean, he's not really getting around on the really good fastball. And when you get in the playoffs, I mean, all these pitchers have pitched well, and that's a concern, because if he's batting fourth and not hitting well, like you were saying, they could pitch around him, and it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, because that was listening to sports radio up here. That was the issue with a lot of these talk radio hosts. Is what if they continue to bat Judge leadoff, followed by Rizzo, Stanton, and Donaldson fourth? You go, because a team like Houston would love that. Because it'll allow them to pitch around Judge, attack Rizzo, pitch around Stanton, and then attack Donaldson. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of lineup they go with, if you're going to see Judge batting leadoff or batting second. I kind of like him batting second. But then again, batting leadoff, he gets more plate appearances and puts the pitcher on edge right away. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Boone plays it.
Yeah, but I got a feeling, the way they've done it all year with the analytics, they're not going to change it up. They're not going to change it now.
Yeah, and last week when we were talking Boone, I mean, when we were talking Judge was on 61, and I was on the mindset that that's it. He's not going to get 62. He'll have 61, and that to me, I was good enough. But he got 62.
Well, the pitcher on Texas, his name escapes me right now. I was watching, and I mean, I'll give him credit. He went right after him.
Yeah, he did.
He challenged him. He threw 95 right down the middle, and he went after him. And Judge put it in the stands, and it was been a tremendous season. I mean, it's something Yankee fans will remember for a long time.
And the thing that I loved was all the Yankees all coming out, greeting him at home plate, hugging them all, and then he gets in the dugout and he hugs every single player and personnel in there. I mean, even all the way to the guys who contribute to the team, the trainers, the guys were coming up into the dugout to give him a hug, and I thought that it just shows you how respected he is in that clubhouse and in that organization. But also, part of me was thinking, do they know something we don't? Is this is his last year in the Yankee uniform? And but I don't know. It was a big moment. Maybe they all just want to celebrate with him, but it made me think, is this the last we're going to see a Judge in the regular season in a Yankee uniform?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things to take in consideration. I mean, does his wife want to be out there? Does he want to be closer to his family? I mean, he grew up as a Giant fan. But, I mean, if the Yankees lose him, I mean, we were talking last week, it's, he's a fan. He's a player that the fans can relate to. I mean, they just, he's a fan favorite. He's like this generation's Mickey Mantle and Bobby Mercer and Thurman Munson and Derek Jeter. And, that's, they lose him, and it's like, they have a lot of great players, but he's like, he's the man. He's the fan favorite.
Yeah, I mean, he's the unofficial captain of the Yankees. I mean, he's the guy who's speaking on behalf of the team when they're doing post-game interviews. I mean, he's the guy speaking for the team out of all the players. And I mean, I don't even know who you would get that could replace him as far as, like the second half of the season. If it wasn't for Aaron Judge, we're a wild card team at best.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you even come close to replacing that production.
No, I mean, even when they were slumping in, July and August were pretty rough. I mean, if it wasn't for him, it would have been even worse.
Yeah. And on top of that, he played great defense this year, too, especially a lot of times he was in center field.
Yeah, I mean, there was 3 games with the Rays, in September that Judge, almost won them single-handedly. And if they'd have lost those 3 games, they might have been a wild card team.
Yeah. Yeah, and the experts are predicting the Yankees win the series in 4 games, or in 6 games, 4 games to 2. I mean, that's reasonable, but I mean, I think they should handle Cleveland relatively easy. I mean, Cleveland, outside of Ramirez, who has great numbers against the Yankees, their offense, isn't that great. The Yankees have a much better offense than Cleveland. And
the Yankees have outstanding defense. They played outstanding defense all season. No, this is a series they should win.
Yeah. And I was looking at some of their games this year. On April 22nd, Yankees won 4-1. April 23rd, they won 5-4. April 24th, the Yankees won 10-2. And on July 2nd, Yankees won 13-4. That was a doubleheader that day. And in Game 2, the Yankees won 6-1. And then they played them July 3rd, and Cleveland won 2-0. But the Yankees, they won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They went 5-1 against Cleveland in those games this year. So, I mean, and they put up some runs. So that they won the season series easily. It's just, you never know what's going to happen in the postseason. But, I like Cortes going in Game 2 because he's just had a great year. And I think if Cole does implode in Game 1, at least you have Cortes in Game 2.
Yeah, I mean, Cortes has been great all year. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Cleveland really came on like the last 3 weeks of the season. They played some terrific ball. So they're playing their best baseball this season at the right time. Yeah,
I mean, and Cleveland won 92 games. I mean, we only won 7 more games than they did. I know they play in the Central, which wasn't that great this year, but 92 games is 92 games. So, I mean, you can't take any team lightly in the postseason.
No, and I mean, the Yankees have had many occasions over the last 20-some years, when you thought they were, the better team, and, the better team doesn't always win.
Yeah. And there's an article here in USA Today about Garrett Cole last year and that do-or-die game with Boston, and he says, I remember, how can I forget? Where else? He said, it took a long time to get over that, Cole tells USA Sports. He's like, I hate losing. I just can't stand it. I get frustrated. I get angry. I just kept thinking about it over and over. He says it was a terrible feeling. It just made me sick to my stomach. So I think Cole has a lot of, I think he would love to redeem himself. So I'm hoping Cole goes out there tomorrow and just sets a tone for the series.
Yeah, I mean, that game in Boston last year, he didn't have it from the get-go. Yeah. I mean, they were down 3 or 4 runs, I think, in the second inning, and so, I mean, and a guy like that, as competitive as he is, a great pitcher, I mean, he's going to come out and he's really going to be, gassed up, and the stadium's going to be going crazy. So it'll be a tremendous atmosphere.
And according to this article in USA Today, Boone, I guess it says, actually gave consideration to starting Nestor Cortes because Nestor had a better season going 12-4 with a 2.44 ERA. But in the end, Cole, it says, is their Yankees ace. He's their workhorse, and they're paying him $324 million for games like this.
Yeah, well, that's why you go out and get these kind of pitchers, get these kind of players, to see how they'll do in the playoffs. And the Yankees got a lot of new names this year, and, we'll see how they do. I mean, this is what we wait for all year. I mean, this is what makes you a Yankee, to come up in the big moments.
And I know Game 1 isn't a do-or-die game, but there's an interesting stat in this article. Cole has pitched in 5 winner-take-all games in his career, and his team has lost 4 of those 5.
Well, I seen an interesting stat that I didn't realize till, a few weeks ago. Justin Verlander has never won a World Series game.
No kidding.
I think he's 0-6 in the World Series.
Oh, that's right. I think we talked about this at one point, and we were looking at his stats, and he's had some rough outings in the postseason.
And the interesting thing, I mean, he's come up big in the playoffs a lot of time. Verlander, he's a great pitcher. He's a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
He's incredible. But I never have heard that mentioned how he's 0-6 in the World Series. I heard about Kershaw and other pitchers, and David Price, but I never hear anything about Verlander. Yeah,
but you're right. In the World Series, he hasn't won, and this year the guy must be pushing 40, if not 40. But he went 17-4 this year, and I think he had a 1.78 ERA, something like that. I mean, he had a hell of a season.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a workhorse. I mean, he's a terrific pitcher. He's been a terrific pitcher a long time. It looks like the last couple of years in Detroit, he was getting towards the end, and he just turned it around.
Yeah, and I think, and Detroit there were a lot of bad teams he was pitching on, and I think going to Houston and being on a wing team, I think revitalized him a lot, because ever since he's gotten there, he's just been on top of his game.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Tigers had some good teams, but then they just fell, they just fell apart. They've been free falling ever since then, and just getting a chance when you're a competitor and you got a chance to win every year is just revitalizes you.
Yeah, and Cole in his career in the postseason is 8-5 with a 2.93 ERA and 14 career starts, which isn't bad.
No, he pitched well a couple of years ago when they had the shortened season. He pitched well in the playoffs, but he had the stinker last year. But this is why you got him.
Yeah, but I'm interested. I'm anxious to see that roster to see, because they're going with 12 pitchers and 14 position players. So I'm anxious to see who they're going to. I hope Cabrera is on the roster, and if Gonzalez is on it, so be it. But Carpenter, we know, is going to be on it. LeMahieu is going to be on it, even though he might not be playing by the way Boone's talking. But it's the lineup that I'm really interested to see, because I don't know. I just hope Donaldson's not someone they're batting cleanup position. I think he hurts them more than he helps them in that spot.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, Rizzo and Donaldson and Connor Falefa and Trevino. I mean, they got some, new faces, and it'll be interesting. I mean, Higgy actually come on late in the season, so I don't know if, he'll platoon with Trevino, but Higashioda really played well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we were last week when we were talking, I think before the Texas series, he was batting .444 with 2 homers and 7 RBIs in his last 7 to 10 games, something like that. And between him and Trevino, the catching spot, I think they have 30 homers and 72 RBIs on the year combined. So I mean, you could see a combination of those two. Yeah,
and they're both excellent defensively. They really frame pitches well, and the Yankee defense all around it was solid all year. Oh yeah, and Torres had a bounce back season. He's spraying the ball all over, and I'd actually prefer him in the cleanup spot than Donaldson if that's the where they might be heading. I prefer Torres over Donaldson in the cleanup spot, because he's come up with big hits late in games for the Yankees this year. Well, we'll see how it pans out, because, just Donaldson, it's just, like I said before, he just guesses now. He really can't get around on, the high heater like he used to. He used to be a terrific hitter.
Yeah, and like we were talking off air, he's a great defender at third, and he's a great third baseman. But offensively this year, it's not his year offensively.
Well, I mean, you look at the averages from top to bottom, and you would never guess.
Yeah,
the game's changed. I mean, what used to be 280 is now like 230.
Yeah, I think they said the batting average league wide is something like 243 league wide for the season. It's the lowest it's been since 1969, I think. I think the year before they lowered the pitching mound. What year did they lower the pitching mound, in 69 or 68?
I think they lowered it after 68 for the 69 season because nobody hit that.
Yeah.
I remember the Yankees hit like 214 as a team.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
68, yeah. So, but I mean, even when the Yankees were playing great, earlier in the year, they were 63 and 29. I mean, you looked at the averages.
Yeah.
Besides and a couple of other guys. I mean, a lot of guys hit 220, 230.
Yeah, like Josh Donaldson on the year, he batted 222, and he only hit 15 home runs. He did drive in 62 runs, but the 222 average, 15 homers, that's not what you usually expect from Josh Donaldson. He's a much better hitter than that. At least he has been in his past.
Yeah, I mean, well, he had 23 homers, 75 RBIs last year. So you can tell he's going a little. He's out of decline. I mean, with Toronto, he was had a lot of power, knocked in a lot of runs. He was an all-star. He was a terrific player.
Yeah, I think Cabrera might be on the postseason roster because on Yes they're talking about him now, and it's the postseason preview. And in the last 17 games, he's batting .346 with 5 home runs in his last 17 games. Cabrera.
Well, he's really picked it up offensively, and like we keep saying, defensively, he's good all over. I mean, he's a great wherever you put him, he does a great job, infield, outfield, and at the very least, if the Yankees haven't found a regular outfielder, they found a super sub. He played all over.
He's played 6 different positions for the Yankees, and at each position, he seems to come up with a highlight play, defensively. And the fact that he started hitting, I think he saw it. He got more and more comfortable at the plate as he got the at-bat. Well, I mean, it was a case, the Yankees gave him a shot. Usually when they bring guys up, they struggle and you don't hear from them again. But with him, they kept playing him, and he, got his feet wet and he got his confidence up, and he produced. He was a really good player this year. Pleasant surprise. And they just showed you a stat here. Kiner Falefa this season with runners in scoring position batted .327, which was 8th in I think either in the American League or Major Leagues, but batted .327 with runners in scoring position. Well, the thing I liked about him offensively, he always gets a piece of the ball. Yeah. And he never had really a slump. He stayed in that 265 range almost all year. Yeah. There wasn't too many ups and downs. I mean, there was a couple, glitch in the field, but from a shortstop, you're usually going to get that. For the most part, he was good defensively, and it was a good pickup. He had a solid year. And going back to tours, they also put a stat up here. He had 24 home runs this year, and the previous 2 seasons, he hit 12 home runs in each of those seasons. So he doubled the amount of home runs he hit last year and the year before that. Well, I mean, the last couple of years, he was like trying to pull everything. And, I think playing shortstop really, hurt his development. Yeah, I mean, like this season, he had 28 doubles, 24 homers. He drove in 76 runs. So, I mean, he did have a bounce-back year, and the Yankees needed that. And it's interesting that I wonder if Aaron Hicks will be I I know he's on the roster, but I wonder if they're going to be, playing him.
Well, it all depends. I mean, are you going to have Stanton in the field? And
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, Hicks, picked it up a little the last week or so, but
yeah,
he's on the team, so
yeah.
I know the fans ain't too happy about it, but who knows? Maybe he'll come up with a big hit. I hope he does.
Yeah. I tell you, I would like to see Stanton and Judge hitting back-to-back, because then it'd be really hard to pitch around two players back-to-back, and we've seen what Stanton can do in the postseason. I mean, I think he had, 6 home runs in that one series, that first or second season with the Yankees. I mean, he was absolutely clobbering the ball in that series.
And I know against the Red Sox last year, he had he hit 3 bombs off the Green Monster. So, he comes up big in the playoffs normally.
It's exciting because, I mean, I really do think we should get past Cleveland relatively easy, even though I hate saying that, but it's Houston that I really want to see us beat. I mean, that's the series I want.
Yeah, I think, most Yankee fans, the Astros have, 3 times in a row they've knocked the Yankees out. Yeah. And, I mean, the games are close, the games are competitive, but, the Astros always get that big hit. They've always just been a little bit better. It's like in the 50s when the Yankees are just a little bit better than the Dodgers. And hopefully we can pull 1955 on the Astros and beat them in the playoffs. Yeah,
it's like the game 1. It starts tomorrow night. The game starts at 7:37, or at least I think 7:37. Yankee Stadium. They're showing it on TBS and streaming it on the app TBS. And Garrett Cole versus Cantrell, and then game 2 on Thursday would be Nestor Cortes versus Shane Bieber, and then Severino will go Saturday in game 3.
Now, when's this? Is it game 4 Sunday?
I don't know. I would.
Yeah. How are they playing it out with the off days and everything?
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull it up. But yeah, I hate that day off every other day.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see.
At this point, we'll have the World Series. It might get snowed out or something.
Yeah. The game 4 would be on October. Yeah, it'd be Sunday. Yeah, that's weird. Game 1's tomorrow, and then game 2 is the 13th. Game 3 is the 15th. Game 4 would be on the 16th, and game 5 would be on the 17th. So game 3, 4, and 5 played back to back to back.
Well, I don't know I was going to say I didn't know the reasoning. Well, I do know the reasoning. It's all about money. So
yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Well, we'll see how it goes, Robert, and hopefully we can do a happy recap next time we talk.
Oh yeah. Next week. I mean, when we talk, hopefully the Yankees took care of the business they need to take care of, and we'll find out if the Mariners can pull off an upset against Houston. That they seem to, have a lot of momentum now. I mean, they had it going in, at the end of the year, going into Toronto. I thought Toronto would win easy, but Seattle, they fought, and they're chanting, "We believe." It's the first year they've been in the postseason in 21 years, I think it is.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I remember when they played the Yankees in, was it 2001 when they won 116 games? I mean, it's been a long time. Lou Piniella, I think, is the manager.
And I don't even know who the Mariners have in their rotation. I know they have some decent pitchers in their starting rotation. I think they have.
They made that big acquisition from the Reds.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got that big. The Yankees were interested in it, and him, and we wound up with Montas, and
yeah.
You know, so less said about that.
I haven't heard anything about Montas. I mean, I doubt he's on the postseason roster, right? I mean, I haven't even heard his name because they're saying Herman and Taillon are going to be the guys pitching out of the bullpen. So I've heard nothing of his name, Montas.
No, I heard he's been throwing, but that's been it.
Yeah. Well, this is the exciting time of the season. I mean, hopefully, we have some good stuff to talk about next week.
Yep, it's always a pleasure, Robert. And hopefully, they should beat Cleveland. And happy birthday, Robert.
Thank you so much, Jack. It's a pleasure as always. So go Yankees.
Yep. Take care.
Take care.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.